This is Hunter. He's a piece I started a while back, and he's having his absolutely not so teeny tiny drying time. He's about 8 by 12 inches. He's actually undergoing just a workable fixative. I'm gonna actually go over him again and add some more detail, so it's nice just to not smear the charcoal anywhere. He's gonna be sealed underneath there. So here Hunter is. He's been undergoing his next application of graphite. Basically what I want to do, he's been sprayed, and so that locks down the first few layers that I know I don't want to remove, but on top of it I can soften and add more dimension without having to worry about the graphite in the darker areas getting spread while I'm doing softening with my other tools here. I use this sandpaper thingy. I'm not sure what it's called, but it comes in handy for me. It's just a mini sandpaper pad, and there's several sheets under here, and so once I filled one I can just tear it off and throw it away and work on the next blank piece. So right now what I'm working with is a 4H, which is my lightest one, a 2H, an HB, and I had a little bit of 7B, which is super big leap from HB, but I guess I had a reason for setting it up there, so that's okay. So basically what happens is the dust stays. So in a way working with the graphite dust becomes a little bit like painting with graphite. So yeah, I take these soft tips here, which I ordered mine in bulk on Amazon. I have boxes and boxes of hundreds of these, maybe 1,000 or so. But what I do is I'll start with the light one, my 4H. Even though it's a 4H lead, it'll still come off a little bit heavy, so you have to be careful. And that's what my next layer is going to be mostly made up of. Filling in anything that might be grainy, turning it into a soft gradient, adding some more depth here. So I figured I would just do another talk and draw, find a topic to talk about while I draw. I think that's something that we can do rather than just random chatting. There are a lot of really strange stigmas that come with pursuing art as a profession. I think there's a lot of people who want to be artists. Well, I shouldn't say they want to be. They are artists, and they want to find a way to grow to where they're able to provide some form of a living for themselves or for their family based on just doing their art, or they just want to exhibit and share their work. Everyone has their own different reasons, and that's okay. When you feel like you're not being seen or heard or noticed for your work, it's very stressful. But we need to remember, when you're first starting out, a lot of times you may not have anyone on your side to advocate for you, and we fall into a habit of saying bad things about our own work. I mean, as an artist, you're always gonna see the flaws. I always see flaws, and you know, at times it can be stressful, but you have to advocate for yourself and take your process and your journey seriously. Otherwise, people who are likely to believe in you will stop believing because they will watch you treat your work badly. You know, it's a very, very, very lonely route at times, especially starting out. And that's kind of why I want to stress the importance of being your very first advocate, if that's the road that you want to go, because if you don't, there's literally no one. You have an opportunity to support your own dreams. That's where you have to start sometimes, and that's okay, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to not just enjoy what you do, but also respect your own growth, even when it's something that you're not happy with. I would not typically post an artwork I'm not happy with and tell the whole world what a terrible piece it is. I'm learning. It's my process, and I'm standing behind my process by not being afraid. Like a decade ago, I spent a lot of time doubting rather than focusing on creating. And in a sense, I became my own destroyer. Learning to stand behind what you create really helps in becoming an advocate for your own work. And I think that a lot of that comes with learning about my work, learning what made my work, and going with it and trying to find ways to do it better, or ways to emphasize those things that make it mine. I think that really helps to boost your confidence, and in turn it makes it a lot easier to stand behind it. I think once you begin that process and start to really understand what you're bringing to the table with your style and your point of view of the world, it becomes so much easier to create work you can stand behind. As someone who's dealt with social anxiety, I completely know what it's like. I say dealt with, but I actually still deal with it a lot. Finding the words to share where my inspiration comes from. I used to be really scared of the question, what inspires you? Because I had no way of putting that into words. But I would highly recommend really digging deep. Look at interviews of other artists and see the questions that are asked. Sit down with a notebook and ask yourself those same questions, and just really get intimate with your work and your style. Find the words in your notebook. Find those words. You get familiar with your work, and once you start to get familiar, it will become so much easier to tell others what you're thinking. That's not really something I could always do, and right now I'm learning how to do it in person. I can definitely do it typing, which luckily all of my interviews up to this point have been over the internet typing. So yeah, getting there. It's just baby steps. The best thing that you can do if you feel like you don't, you feel like you don't know your direction, you're trying to find your direction, or you're trying to see what sets your work apart from the rest, get a notebook. Ask yourself the questions. Answer the questions. You'll be amazed at what you learn about your own self and your own work. Don't be too confident. Even people who know a lot about their work, I would still recommend, doing the notebook thing and just digging really deep every once in a while and just acknowledge how your work has changed. Not only that, it helps you to pave a path for where you'd like your work to go. Once you start to understand where you are, it could get a lot easier in figuring out what to do next, or give you new ideas, inspire something new, perhaps a new project for your work. Anything can happen. Just that one-on-one time with yourself and your work is something that's easy to forget to do. Another thing you can write about is your purpose. I know a lot of times all I can think of is it feels good. Creating my art feels good to me. That's everyone's answer, really. But it also helps to think of it from someone else's perspective. How you create your art. Someone sees your art. How do you hope it will affect them? If you've thought about that kind of thing, what do you want to bring to those people who are looking at your art? How does your art serve those people, if it does? I mean, I think that anyone can answer those questions, but all it takes is finding. Even if the answer is, I just want them to think about art. I think that's very important to be aware of in your work. Just being aware of what you're creating, what you're bringing into this world. I know a lot of artists may not agree with me, but personally I think we have a really big responsibility here when we take up the title of being an artist. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but I feel that different forms of artists have a pretty heavy hand in where society goes as a whole. What we share, what we create, the music, music definitely, movies, television. We have a say, we're influencing. I think a lot of times on the upper tiers, we hand our talent to people who want to have a say. So we say, okay, I'll do what this company wants, and artists also have the potential to get imprisoned or their creativity stifled just by signing a contract. It happens all the time in the entertainment industry because I don't think there's a full understanding of what's taking place. In a sense, I feel it's really easy to get hijacked as an artist by people that have other intentions. We should take more responsibility for what we put out into the world and be able to stand behind what we put out there. I think I spent a lot of years creating, experimenting, exploring. A lot of things I typically would not do today, but that's okay. It's all part of a journey. And I'm happy with where I've ended up as far as being conscious of what influence I'm being conscious of what I'm putting out there and how it might influence others. Some people it won't matter, and that's okay too. To me, it matters. Yeah, thank you for joining me as I work on Hunter. If you have any question or concern or just want to talk, the dialogue is always open. I have a always open dialogue policy because I like for people to talk about stuff that matters to them. Feel free. I'll usually always respond. And I'm open to learning too. I'm open to thinking of things I would not have usually thinked of. So please, if you have something on your mind, just let it out and it'll be okay. Have a good day.